Welcome to another edition of EJH British Cars. So today we're going to pick up where we left off yesterday and start putting the shocks in the front of the TR2. So I've done a little prep work here. Here's the new shock. Here's the mounting hardwares. So we're going to do a little pre-assembly on this. We'll put, this goes through the bottom. And I got new locking tabs, and as you can see, I like to bend those a little bit before I put them in, so I like to get the edges lifted a little bit because they're just dead flat when they're tight. They're really hard to get them up that first little bit to get the screwdriver underneath them. So without any further ado, let's get started. So we started by pushing the male half through the rubber bushings, and then we need to place the female half. This doesn't seem to have an up or a down side. I don't think it makes any difference, or if it's so small, I don't see how it could make a difference. So then this one goes on. Yeah, that started. And this one, you just tighten it up until it hits the shoulder. And we're going to need to have that big flap hanging over the edge so we can lock it in. So I bent that tab over a little bit just to keep them spinning when I'm tightening this bolt up. And I'll tap these things level with each other. I think that's going to make my life easier. So these are adjustable gas shocks. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to access that once this front end's together. So this is a road car. I'm going to take it 2, 3, probably 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 10 clicks off maximum. And we need to get the top apart here. Most shocks would just, the bushings would have a raised space on them, but on this car you can see that hole is a lot bigger than that. So they have these steel washers top and bottom, so we're going to leave those in place. So you're going to want to have these set at the angle that the lower pan is at, because you're going to need to be able to feed it up through and feed these through and all that. So this shock is slightly longer than that, so I collapsed it maybe about an inch just to facilitate that. And we feed it up through the bottom. So as you look down here, here are the 4 holes in that lower mount, and there's the 4 studs, and they're just engaged just a little bit. So you just want to make sure you do that, because otherwise you're just going to wind up doing it twice. Put the bushing on, you'll notice that this has got a nut outline on it, and that's got a raised edge. So the raised edge goes down into the hole. Get a nut started, and that should be 9/16. Well, it's never really told me how much to compress these. But I don't think you should run it down till it hits the stop, the shoulder. I think you should just about compress them about halfway, and then use the second nut as a lock nut. And we'll tighten that down later. So now we need to push the bottom of this shock up a little bit. And I think we'll try just a dead blow mallet for that. So had to resort to a bigger hammer, but that drove it up pretty easily. Next we're going to put that on. It goes with the long side towards the chassis, short side out towards the road. And that just fits over those 4 bolts. And I suppose a lot of people would use nylocks here, which is not a bad idea. I'm just using lock washers. So don't forget to tighten the top ones. I like to get them so they're about crushing the rubber about halfway. Definitely should not run it down so far that it bottoms out against the top of the shoulder. And once that's on, you just put the lock nut on. So I actually have a set of really thin wrenches that I can grab that with, because normally, I don't know why these don't. Normally that bottom nut is twice that thick with a thin top one, just so you can get a wrench on. Who knows? So the last bit is the lower suspension stop. Make sure to inspect the rubber pad here, because stuff gets old and deteriorates. This is a new one on here, just 2 short bolts. And then we have 2 5/16 long bolts. Well, unfortunately, the GoPro ate the last section of the front suspension bolted together. So that one piece is slipped up. Put the long bolt through the bottom, and the rubber was against the bottom of the arm, but the bolt holes are only about a half a bolt diameter off. So I actually used a tapered pin it pulled it up, and I was able to get the bolt in, surprisingly enough. So I did that. So that will conclude this video. Sorry for the mess up at the end. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and we'll see you next time.